Hello everyone, I'm Rick Hahn with Innovia. I'd like to take a few minutes today to show you a little bit about how to work with assemblies in SolidWorks that are already released in the platform. Let's hop right into SolidWorks here. We have an assembly that we'd like to look at and make a modification to. As you might notice here, it's already in a release state. So what do we do to modify this design? It's all saved on the platform. It's available to all our users. So let's say, for example, that we want to make a change to this eccentric component mechanism. Well, this assembly is such that any changes to this part would also affect the assembly. Subsequently, we need to lock and take out these two components, and so we can modify them. They're both currently in a released state. So what we need to do first is revise these two designs so that we can work them and not affect the originals that are currently released into production environment. So what we'll do here is we'll go in and generate a new revision of these two designs. And the system will automatically generate the next available revision that's defined for these in the system. And once the revisions are created, you'll notice a small, subtle change in the interface here. The system didn't automatically bring those into session, but what it did do is on my screen here, you'll see these two small plus signs. It says a more recent version is existing. It doesn't magically replace these because it doesn't know if I want to use them now or just make them available on the platform for myself or other users to revise. So I'm still looking at the original structure. But everyone that searches anywhere in the world on the platform will suddenly see that they may no longer have the latest revision of these two components in their assemblies. So what we'll do here is we'll go in and reload these. So I can tell the system that I'd like to replace the existing content, or say replace by revision here. And we'll choose this, and the system will report what revisions are available that are beyond the one I currently have. And I can just double click these. And it will load this new revision. Now, of course, there will be no visual change because the component that's in session hasn't been altered in any way. We'll also replace the end item as well so that I have components that I can modify. Once again, the system searches the database for the existing and new revision. I see the new revision, and we can open this session. Now, at this point, I have both components in my local, on my local client here that are in work. But I can't immediately start making changes to them because at this point, since these are components that are available to everybody out there and everybody can see them, I still need to reserve them so that I can work on them. That basically does a real-time lock on these two components so that nobody else can make a change at the same time as I do. So I'm going to reserve them here, and we'll say a small change in the display. Two keys will appear. It indicates that these two parts are not only in work, but they're locked. And anybody else that touches these keys, if they mouse over them, you'll see that the system says reserved by me. Now it says that to me, but if someone else in the world happened to search for these parts, they'd say reserved by Rick Hahn. So they know who's working on it. If they needed to have an issue with that, they would be able to contact me instantly on this subject. So we now have the two parts locked out, and we can make modifications on them. So if let's just say we make a small change here. One thing is nice is we can open maybe the part directly from the PLM My Session interface, or we can open it from SolidWorks. We'll open it from here to make our change. And let's just say we'll make a minor change to this design. Let's just change the length of this cam rod. Let's make it, I don't know, let's do a 0.8, just make it a little longer. And regenerate that design. So we see we have a slight change. You'll also note that now the system indicates that the part has been changed. So we're good with that. We'll save that change in the system, which of course affects the assembly in this case because there's a relationship. That change to the assembly is immediately reflected here because of the SolidWorks senses a change. It tells the PLM system, and we see that the file is modified in session at this level. So we've made all the modifications we want to make to the design. We can then save the design back to the system. The system notifies us that one of the components is unchanged, so there'll be no change to that. And the value of this, of course, is the fact that if I have a very large assembly and I'm only changing a handful of the parts, I'm not saving all this information back to the server every time I'm working. So I can work on very large assemblies and make incremental changes and not affect the performance of my operations locally. So we'll go ahead and do a save here. The system will update the information on the server and then notify me appropriately here. You'll see now that everything is currently up to date. I still have control of the parts, and maybe I want to keep it or maybe I want to release it. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and release control in case some of my brethren would like to work on them. So I'll unreserve these components. And lastly, I'm probably going to have someone review these. And to review these, we use a state called frozen. So I'm going to choose these two components that are currently in work and alter their maturity. We're not talking about it today, but most likely this would occur in the context of a change process, and that will be for a future little discussion here. So the system indicates the parts. What do I want to do? I'd like to freeze them for review. I'll say OK. Checks the parts, and you'll see that the success of that change, and now they're updated to frozen. So everyone that can see these parts will realize that it's probably in some form of a change review. And with that, I've completed the change design and moved it to the next point in the process. I hope this was informative, and thank you for your time.